Stop that on your desk.
All right, guys, we're live. How you doing? It's Jim, Mary Catherine, and Peter here from Relatable, and we're excited to join you today. And we're going to be talking about how to create a predictable stream of potential buyers using demand gen. And so I'm going to turn it over to Peter, and we're going to get this show going.
Thank you, Jim, and good morning, everybody. We're going to have an interactive discussion, which aligns with our Relatable interactive video relationships. So it won't be just me blabbing here. It'll be also Mary enlightening us and Jim enlightening us with their knowledge as well. But I just want to start, guys. Thank you for coming. This whole, I don't know what you call it. It's not in a class. It's more just a way to share insights on what we're doing and how are we dealing with, the world you live in, which is the attention economy with lead generation, which you can't just abandon right away. But also while you're generating leads, how do you transition over into the world of demand gen, which is where 95% of your buyers, they're not yet ready to buy, but they're out there. And so how do we go through this process of awareness, consideration, and then readiness when they're ready to go? So today we're going to review kind of what we talked about 2 weeks ago, because some of you are new and I really appreciate having you here. But today we're going to go about talking about content strategy, and we're going to talk about distribution strategy. In other words, what forms of content do you need to go through from awareness, consideration, and readiness? And what is that strategy? And then we're going to go through distribution, which is where it should live. So, for a lot of you, you see us a lot, on LinkedIn. I'm posting every day. I'm talking about different things, and I'd love to have you turn on the notification bell on my profile, follow along with what we're doing. But really, we are in now, and this is not entering, this is where we're at, because 2 weeks ago, I asked all of you, how do you buy? We all buy the same way our potential buyers buy. And that is, unless you're buying a candy bar or a pack of gum, you're doing research online. So that is so critical. You have to understand. And the other thing too, guys, I'm just going to share some stats with you, a couple stats. So you really understand these stats. Most of them come from Gartner, which you all know. They spend a lot of money on research, but this is about the relationship economy, building trust, building relationships while creating demand. And like Jim said, a predictable stream of potential buyers. Okay. So one of the things that I learned is from Gartner is 84% of buyers say they would purchase based on relationship, even if the competitor had better sales terms. That goes back to the thing that's been timeless forever and ever, which is people buy from people. You guys know the rest. We know, like, and trust, right? And it's always going to be that way. And I actually think and this is for a different digital live series, we're going to talk extensively about how artificial intelligence is actually going to accelerate the relationship economy and human-human connection, or digital to human that goes to human-to-human, right? So we'll discuss that later on. But one of the things I brought up a couple weeks ago is Gartner also said 72% of all your potential buyers now, they want a seller-free experience, a rep-free experience. And this is not just for, products like ours that start at $49 a month. This is for enterprise level, $500,000 type products. People in corporations are looking for a seller-free experience. And I have to ask you guys all a question, which I brought up last couple weeks ago, is when is the last time when you got an idea to research to solve one of your problems in your business, you said, hey, I think I'll just pick up the phone and call the salesperson, right? Mary's laughing. We don't do that. And none of us are doing that anymore. And so this is why this content strategy, having a digital footprint, and it is so important. There's another stat up here that two other stats, and then I'm going to show you a actual Gartner chart that they did. But 62% of all people say they make a purchase solely based on online content. So that's almost 2/3. Okay. So if you are, and guys, if you know any sales reps, reach out to them, ask them how their world's going these days. Not so good. It's very tough. The last one is 45% of buyers want a personalized content portal. And we're going to talk about a customer insights portal that we are building that you should also have on your website, and make it personal and relevant. In other words, what this means, a customer insight portal, is they get to choose their own adventure. And that's where Relatable comes in, because every buyer has a different set of priority reasons why they're considering your product. It's not a one size fits all anymore. And so you have to give them the ability to go through and choose their own priority adventure, and then come back and learn about other things within your project, while a product or service, while you're engaging them. Okay. So Jim, can you throw up that Gartner
I sure can.
thing? And then obviously I'd love to get your guys' feedback on this too. So this is something I ran across. It's actually very, very interesting as it relates to your digital footprint, your digital value. We're not going to go through every single one. I'm going to go through probably the top 5 here. So first and foremost is your website. So we always say here, and this is something that we are subscribing to. And guys, like I said, this is an ongoing journey. We have not arrived. And even then, guys, customers are looking for personal and relevant. Relevant means you can't have a 3-year-old website and 3-year-old content on your website. It doesn't cut it anymore. In fact, it breeds mistrust, because they don't know, are these people for real? Like, if you're not creating a demand gen engine and feeding that engine with new content, you are really setting yourself up for losing business to your competitors. Plain and simple. Okay. So your website needs to be your best salesperson. Okay. That's the first and foremost place where people go. But what we're doing is we are rebuilding our website to make it a demand gen website, not just a billboard website like everybody else has out there with WordPress and Wix and whatever else they're using. Because those websites were built for the attention economy and for lead generation. You all know about landing pages. You all know about websites with those annoying popovers that try to collect your email addresses. That's the attention. That's the old, outdated attention economy with lead gen. And if you think about how that annoys you, the hell out of you, I know it does me. People are sick of that. In fact, I click off websites as soon as the popover pops up. It's like, why are you doing this to me? Right? So that's the first thing. Social media, second. So, we all live on LinkedIn because we're B2B. If you're B2C, obviously Instagram is a great place to go. TikTok's a great place to go. But for the world of B2B, a lot of it is LinkedIn. But we are going to be expanding our omni-channel footprint out to other social media sites. But you got to remember, social media is rented land. So we have to do our best as all of us business owners of how do we, attract people in rented land and bring them into our world. And we have a way to do that also with our Relatable interactive video relationships tool. Okay. Online search. So now I will say this, guys, and Mary, I want to ask you a question about this too, because I know you're starting to experience this. Used to be, guys, that, whenever we said, hey, we are going to search, we'll Google it, right? Well, nowadays, not so much. In fact, there was a study I read that by 2025, Google search is going to be reduced by 25% or more. There's these new things coming out called, instead of search engines, answer engines. So Mary, do you want to talk about one of the answer engines you use and kind of how it helps you?
Yeah. I very rarely use Google. I only use Google for Google Maps usually if I'm driving somewhere and I want to get somewhere and find out a little bit about where I'm going. But I use a product called Perplexity, perplexity.ai.
Yeah.
And most of the input I put into Perplexity is research. I want to ask questions about a particular topic or a particular type of business or a particular market, or a particular influencer. And so I go to Perplexity mostly. I stopped using Chat GPT and some of those others, just mainly because I'm using Perplexity. And the way the structure of this answer engine and the reason it's starting to take hold is because you can get deeper and deeper into your question. You can start with a generalized question. What is demand generation marketing? And Perplexity will actually give you an answer and the sources where it got the answer. And then
I noticed it stacks them up on there. It gives you
it gives you the sources. And so you can go check out whether you believe those sources or not. Like if it's going to give you Wikipedia, you may or may not trust that particular source. So then you can, though, take pieces of that answer and ask another question about it, and it will know where it got that information. It will get deeper and deeper into the solution or the answer that you're trying to get to. Google doesn't do that. Google's just going to give you another list or images or videos or something like that. So that's how I use Perplexity, and I can get answers and get details and information very, very quickly. Whereas before it would have taken a long time to research a particular product.
So basically, it's really shortcutting and reducing the time of finding and doing research for you is the answer engine.
Yep.
Jim, do you use those at all? Have you?
I've used Perplexity a little bit, but I think also, to Mary's point, I think it's been more of a frustration is now, because all these platforms are adding AI in, now at the top, it starts like giving you all these AI suggestions when it's like, hey, I just want my answer. I don't want all these questions. I mean, I don't know what your guys' opinion is, but even with LinkedIn now, right? When you see a post, it starts giving you like these little AI tidbits, like, do you want to know what this is or that is? And it's like, it's noise. And I think, I think sometimes people just want to turn it off, and that may, going back to what you were talking about earlier, Peter, right? That may get more and more people. It's like, I don't want to be on the rented land because I don't want all this noise. I just want my answer.
Or what happens with LinkedIn, like the AI, is LinkedIn automatically tries to get you to use the AI to actually make comments. And that's basically putting a barrier. To me, AI is no longer helpful in that respect for relationship building. It's actually putting a barrier up to relationship building because it's trying to take the responsibility of your comment. And relationships are not built from an AI comment to a person. They're built from a person to a person.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I call those, Jim, I call those dopamine distractors. They're good at that. So anyway, going back to this, and thank you guys for your comments on that, because, guys, here's the thing. And one thing I will tell you, I did talk with Mary about this, is me coming from a tech world, I can't totally crack the code, but I'm looking into research on how the answer engines are working so you can appear in those search results, right? Because obviously you still want to have a website, but it's how do you get found, right? So right now with Google and search, and if they use, you have your keywords, and, we've said this before in previous discussions, you show up on Google page one and get to compete with 9 other businesses with your content. And so how do we get to a point where it's more targeted and people are going? So one way to do that is through social sites, where you are, we talked 2 weeks ago about creating your unique point of view and creating your change of perspective, where people resonate with that and they go, you know what? I agree with you. And we're getting a lot of that on LinkedIn now, all 3 of us, where they're going to want to search. Now, remind me, guys, because one thing I want to share with you guys, I'm experimenting with something called content loops on LinkedIn and getting like 300 to 400% better engagement, better comments. So I'll get to that here a little bit later in the content strategy. Now, the last one here, though, I want to show you this. There's 12 of these bars on here. I'm only going to cover these top, whatever, 4 or 5. You see that next one? Suppliers interactive tool at 35%. So what does that mean? Well, that means you better have something that is interactive, that engages the people, that builds trust, that is customer insights, but like I said, it lets them choose their own priority and venture. Now, there's different ways to do that. We talked 2 weeks ago. You've got watching, listening, and reading. If you look at the stats of what's gone on, video has over 150% growth over the last 5 years. Blogs have 17. So guys, this is just, I mean, look, you're here either live or you're watching the replay. You cannot replace us interacting and talking with you. Video is where it's at. This is why we created Relatable, which is our category of interactive video relationships, because everybody's watching these days. And you need to give them an interactive way, not a marketing way where it's a one size fits all or a billboard like a website where they have to slog through all this content and crap that isn't their priority. You have to give them personal and relevant and let them choose their own priority adventure. That's what people are looking for these days. That's what our tool does. Okay. So this really kind of gives you an eye opener as to, what is happening out there in this. So again, I go back to this. It's going away from the attention economy and lead gen. And I'm going to talk about lead gen here in a second. Then we're going to open up the floor for questions from you guys, to a relationship economy and demand gen. And the whole idea is, how do you create over time a predictable stream of potential buyers? Now, we're not going to go through and rehash everything we did 2 weeks ago, but I will give you the big distinction between lead gen and demand gen. And then Mary and Jim, I'd love you guys to weigh in on this too. In my mind, lead gen is you do all this stuff. You create posts, you send them to landing pages, you do email marketing, you do funnels, and do all this stuff, right? But bottom line, lead gen is about you inviting that potential buyer into your sales process and trying to persuade them to buy. And typically only about 5% of the market for any B2B, B2C is in demand ready. So what about that other 95%? Demand gen is about pull marketing. It's about addressing that 95% through awareness, consideration to readiness. Okay. The big distinction though is in demand gen, the potential buyer is inviting you into their buying process because they're demand ready and ready to buy. Okay. So any other thoughts, Mary or Jim, on that?
Well, I just wanted to share a comment from Nina, who's watching on LinkedIn, and for some reason it's not pulling it in all the comments for her to share the screen. But she said, going back to what we were talking about earlier, there's a lot of noise. It said it reminds her of when the phone answering services went viral. It was cute until people needed people.
Yeah, that's a great comment. It was cute till it wasn't cute. Well, I mean, we don't have to get into the long diatribe on that, but the whole thing is, guys, look, just because tech can do it, like email marketing, and go one to many and push a button and blast out over and over and over again, or robocalling, push a button and call thousands of numbers, does not mean that that's a good thing or creates and supports your reputation and brand. In fact, it's damaging it. And people are sick and tired of that. And this is why, guys, too, we're going to talk a little bit. If we don't get to it this time, we'll get to it in our next one. If you think people are going to give you their email address, they're opportunity seekers, or it's a low quality lead, if you're getting it right up at the front in awareness, people are not giving up their email address or their phone number. And we're going to talk a little bit about that in content strategy of when do you ask? Yes. Okay. You do not ask in demand awareness. That is not the time to be asking. And actually, if you do that, you gate your content, you're losing a ton of people who probably would have read your content, but they're not going to now because they don't want to give up their email or phone number. Okay. Yeah. Any other comments, Mary?
Yeah, definitely. I love the way you describe the difference between lead gen and demand gen. And my main distinction is your intent. That's really what it comes down to. I, as the creator, I, as the business owner, what's my intent? And in lead generation, my intent is to sell. It's to capture people at the top of the funnel. It's the whole big funnel idea. Capture as many people as possible. And that word capture, I don't even like, right? It's capturing. It's like you're netting them and pulling them into your funnel, whether they want to be there or not, tricking them. I know not everybody does that, but that's the intent. That's the idea. And so the intent is to capture as many people, push them through your information that you think they need to get as many people to that bottom to buy. You are just selling. Whereas in demand generation marketing, it really is creating demand. It's allowing you, the intent is for you to be invited into the potential buyer's buying journey.
Yeah.
The opposite. The intent is the opposite. So I agree with you about content or gating your content. I've removed all lead magnets in terms of capturing emails or SMS or anything like that, because again, the intent is I want to capture you and then bug the hell out of you.
Yeah.
I would rather let my content be out there, let people discover it wherever they're going to discover it in many, many places, which I know we're going to talk about, and I can't wait to talk about. And so that they can see my content out in all those places, consume it in whatever format they enjoy the most, and then come back to me and go, you know what? I want your stuff because of all the stuff you've given me for free. I know the stuff that you're going to sell me or allow me to buy that I want to buy is going to be amazing.
Yeah. That's great. And, I talk about the other thing, and Jim, we got to get to the questions here because we're at 20 some minutes in, but the last thing I want to say is this, guys, it's all about commitment by your potential buyers, right? A sales call is a massively big commitment. If you look at lead magnets with email, that's a low commitment, and low comes with quality.
Mhm.
So I've talked about this on LinkedIn. Just because you have an email list does not mean you have leads.
Yeah.
Because a lot of those people are tire kickers. They just, opted in. They know nothing about you. There's no trust. There's no relationship. There's no nothing. So it's a low commitment, low quality. Interactive videos is that, and live events like this develop a mid commitment, which is we're starting to build relationships. We're starting to build trust. You're starting to get to know us. Hopefully we want to get to know you. We have a partner program. We have an affiliate program. So, but really the interactive, like I said, is it allows people to choose their own priority adventure. That is a commitment people can do. We're not asking them to give up their email or their phone number yet. That is in demand ready. Okay. I will talk. We're going to do our questions now, and we're going to get into content strategy next. But I'm going to give you a use case example of when does a potential buyer shortcut from awareness all the way down to readiness. And there are some use cases for that. And I'll give you an example of here's how you would use Relatable, because those people are in demand capture, and it is time to capture their email or their phone number. Okay. So anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. I just wanted to make a comment on the commitment level. So I know there's a statistic you shared with me. I don't think you shared it here, or at least I don't remember hearing you share it, where it takes now 66 touch points. Wasn't that the number? 66 touch points in order to get someone from aware to buy, right? Ready. Well, in that 66 touch points, they're not going to do it with one sale. That's one touch point, a sales call. And it's a huge one, like you said. Interactive video, the way we do it, the way Relatable offers, it allows you to take one touch point of them viewing your video, right? They had to click on the video to watch it. And it allows you to take that one video and multiply the touch points that it takes to get someone curious and ready by twofold, threefold, tenfold, depending on how many interactions you have in that video. So that's how interactive video can take that big commitment and break it up into smaller chunks, what we call micro commitments, mini yeses, micro yeses. That's what allows someone to deepen their relationship with you faster.
Yep. And so, Jim, we'll talk about that in terms of content loops, and I'm going to give you a 5% example. But I know, Jim, let's ask the questions of the people who are here live, because I'd love to hear what they have to say.
Yeah, and so one of the questions we had was, how does your engagement change when you create interactive video? And so I think, and I know we've got Nina out here in the audience. So Nina, let us know what your thoughts are on this. I mean, I know you've been doing a lot of video, Nina. I think, we can definitely talk about Relatable if you'd like to. And Mary Catherine, she's loving your stuff. So I told her to connect with you on LinkedIn as well in the comments. So let us know what you all are thinking. I know for me, and that's one of the things that attracted me to Relatable as well, was just that fact of this was different, right? This wasn't just I'm watching a video and if I put comments in and maybe it was like you said, watching a replay of a live stream, were they going to get back to me? Was it going to solve my problem, my pain point?
Yeah.
This is we're giving people that ability to choose, what path do they need to go down, right? I know sometimes we like to say choose your own adventure, but to your point, Peter, if we're talking about a chiropractor and they can ask like, well, what kind of pain are you having? And then when you tell them, then it goes to that next step of saying, okay, you have back pain. Well, here's some exercises you can try, or you can make an appointment with me, right? But I think to your point as well, as we've learned on this journey, that don't automatically, it's that whole thing. Don't try to turn me into a lead, right? I've shown I have some interest in you, but it doesn't mean I know, like, and trust you yet. And that's, I think, the other piece of that's how I see the engagement changing is we're building know, like, and trust through these exchanges with Relatable.
Yeah. No, makes a lot of sense. Good.
Good. Was there, Jim, could you ask the question, because we want to make sure we only have a half an hour left.
Right.
Could you ask the question about what it is that would make this a success for people as we're continuing?
Oh yeah, but we do have a comment from Nina. Let's see here.
Awesome.
She said, I think Peter's sharing stuff that's going to stand with or without the trends because people truly are in a cycle of searching. And like MKJ said, a sale happens in moments, not an instant. So I think that's a great point, Nina.
It's very, very true, Nina.
Yes.
And Nina, it's so great you say that because, and for everybody who's listening to this on replays, it's like I say this over and over again. I don't understand why people are still on the cycle of attention economy with lead generation when that is not how they buy. We all buy the same way. We all go out and do our research. No one does not do research these days because of the internet and everything's there online. So why are we are totally disconnected as marketers from the behavior of what people actually do. And so all we're saying is, look, align yourself with the relationship economy because Jim's right. It's not just, hey, I go through awareness, I go through consideration, I go through readiness. People want to build that trust. You saw that 84% of buyers say they would purchase based sole on relationships. 84%. Even if the competitor had better sales terms, better price, better terms, better everything, they still would buy it based on relationships. We all are like that, right? So again, all we're saying is let's match with what is actually going on out in the world, the relationship economy with demand generation. And that's why we created this framework and this tool called Relatable that allows you to do that, okay? Any other questions, Jim?
No, but let's go to the other question because maybe this will, Nina, since we know you're watching, we love interacting with the folks watching live. And even if you're watching us on replay, drop that question in because then that is going to help us as we develop more of these shows. And we're going to also have
I'll answer them on post too and
content. Yeah. So, but what do you need to see, and really it's the next half hour from us that's going to help you develop a predictable stream of potential buyers. And so we do have a comment from Nina, and she said that she goes, I agree with you, Peter. Reconnect with what it is, and you should be selling yourself. We have to move into collaborative selling. It's so strategic and more convincing.
Yeah. And Nina, that's awesome. And the reason why it's more convincing is because we all are human beings. We all strive for relationships. We all strive for connection. We all strive for building trust. It's what we do. It's our human condition. So how did we get away from all this stuff that we used to do? I said sometimes Relatable actually brings us back to the timeless way we used to do things. It's not antique. It's actually very current. And even now more so with AI, it's even more current and powerful. People are looking for those human to human connections or digital to human, right? That's the start of it. And then you go human to human, right? So great points, Nina. Really appreciate it. Okay, so we move on. Let's go into our content strategy here. So one thing I want to build off of what Jim said about the chiropractor use case. That's the one I was going to bring up. So there are times, guys, this is about when you think about your content strategy, and we're doing this too. So you have to look at times when a buyer, they're already demand ready. They're in the 5%. So Jim's example is a great one. Let's say you're a chiropractor and you deal with back pain, neck pain, and migraines. That's kind of the most common chiropractors deal with, right? There's other issues, but those are the three biggies. If someone has back pain, they're not going through awareness consideration. They're going, I need to get a chiropractor now because I got bad back pain and I have limited mobility or no mobility. And how do I, solve that, right? So here's what Relatable can do. Relatable, now, first of all, what we say is this, and this is based on everything going on out there right now, and also a big HubSpot study. Everybody knows HubSpot. HubSpot came out last year, guys, and said 70% of all potential buyers or consumers, they don't care about your brand. They don't care about your company. They want to see videos from you, the CEO, the founder, the head honcho. So with this one, the chiropractor needs to come on. The chiropractor needs to be seen in video. This is how that chiropractor can build trust. But what they can do with Relatable is you build a diagnostic survey, a quick one. This goes 2-3 minutes, right? You're asking them questions. And then what the chiropractor does is at the end, because these people, they have back pain, they're demand ready. They need a solution now. It's not a figurative pain like a lot of us business people have. They have a literal pain, right? I gotta get rid of this pain. So the chiropractor says, hey, I'd love to get to know you. There's one or two things, and they can try it. In fact, in Relatable, you can do A/B split testing. So on option A, you could say, the chiropractor say, hey, I'd like to collect your email or phone. I have a specialized solution video for you since you said back pain. I'm going to share that with you now. And they could collect that. Option B is they don't do that. The B test is they just go right to the solution video. So either way they do it, and they can test both in Relatable. And we have analytics, and they can see what converts better. But when they get to the solution video on back pain, the chiropractor is talking about, okay, here's some of the things that may be causing your back pain. And here's how I work with it as a chiropractor. And that chiropractor, now, while they're talking, we have a thing called popover, which means the chiropractor can put text me, call me, or set an appointment. Okay. The text could be your business office number. The call could be your business office, or the set an appointment could be setting an appointment online with an automatic appointment setter, which chiropractors have, and they can just put that as an external link right in there. So while the chiropractor is talking about the solution, they can have that in there, and the person could go, you know what? I just want to call this person. Tap, boom, the phone that opens up their phone contacts. They automatically dials a number, and they're on the phone with the chiropractor. Yeah. You see, the power of this is that person was demand ready. The chiropractor came by the video and the interactions and the diagnostic. The person, that's the other thing, guys, about relationship economy. Your potential buyers must be heard. Okay, let me repeat that again. They must be heard, not be spoken to, like we do in the attention economy. Mary brought that up. So this diagnostic survey, you're asking them to engage. Like Mary said, these are micro commitments all along the way. You don't need 66 when a buyer's in demand ready. They're like, give me a couple. Okay, I saw you. You look great. The things you said resonate with me. I'm tapping that call button or the appointment button, and I'm going to come in. Right?
Yeah, Peter.
So that's where you're dealing with the 5%. Go ahead.
We got a question from Nina too that I think kind of fits along with what we're talking about. What ways would you recommend we use LinkedIn with Relatable to set our conversations apart?
That's a great question, Nina. I'm going to get to that. So thank you. So if you go, Nina, to or go to Mary's, I think Jim's doing something because Jim just went to Innovate 24. He has them up there too. So there's a couple different ways I would suggest. One is we have these shorts. They're called clips, and they typically shouldn't be more than 2 minutes because, these days too, that's the trend is people's attention spans aren't what they used to be, right? So you can develop clips that typically, and they're great for demand awareness. You are expressing your unique point of view. You are talking about change of perspective. If you go to mine and start scrolling down, you'll see some of these. What we do is we create these clips, and in Relatable, you can share them on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on Facebook, all the social sites. But say on LinkedIn, you click the button, it automatically opens up the post window. You can write your post. What it does is it has a dynamic link preview with an image. Now, I always tell people, I told Jim this, be literal, tap here, right? But what the person does is they tap or click. Now, one thing, Nina, so I found this out the other day, 88% of all people in the world on LinkedIn are on their phone. They're not on a desktop. So they're going to be tapping. But the nice thing about this is when you tap on it, the Relatable pops up over top of LinkedIn. There is no, hey, this is a link, you're now leaving LinkedIn, and you get penalized by 50% or more in impressions because you're leaving. Okay. So that's one way. The other way I'm trying, and Nina, I've just started this. And again, this is something, it's a continual process with demandgen and how to learn. But actually I have some big influencers I was talking to. They're very excited. They want to talk to me about this. I call it content looping. Okay. So in websites, we do content looping. So content looping means, let's say, for example, you have a blog post, you have links embedded in the blog post, you take them to some other portion of content. Why do we do this? Because we want people to stay engaged on our website as long as possible. Okay. In LinkedIn, you could do this. And I say, don't do it in the post, do it in the comments. If you notice my last couple, I'm putting bonus tips and I'm putting links. That's content looping. I'm linking back to a previous post. I'm linking to a Relatable. The Relatable links to something else on the website. It's all this big loop. But what we're doing is we're keeping them engaged with our content a much longer period of time than even these big content influencers that are doing the linear post with a single comment, and then they're doing linear engagement with these people. And it's working. I'm getting 300 to 400% more engagement by using content looping with Relatable clips. So.
Can I jump into that real quick?
Sure.
Nina, so Peter talked about the how-to, right? He specifically showed you the details of how Relatable can help with that engagement and setting your conversation apart. I want to go to the strategy, and I've talked to quite a few people and helped them create these kinds of clips and videos. And here is a very quick strategy of how you can actually create your content, the form of your video that might help in increasing the relatable ness of it, if you will, the interactivity. So first off, when you're creating, whether it's a post or whether it's a video, specifically on Relatable, start with the end in mind. So like Peter said, you're going to loop it. So you're going to mostly talk about similar things that are connected. So I'm not going to teach everyone every detail about Relatable and interactive video and demand generation in one post. So I'm going to take pieces of that post and I'm going to think, all right, what's the purpose of this particular piece of content? Is the purpose to bring them to my website? Is the purpose to send them to another blog post? Is the purpose to get them to sign up for something? What's the purpose? So that's the end in mind. Now I'm going to think, what do I have to say in the middle of the content to nurture them to actually take that action, whatever that action is? And then in the beginning of this particular piece of content, how am I going to show anyone who's viewing this content that I know what's going on in their head, that I understand whatever pain they're trying to solve, and I might have the solution if they just watch this video or consume this piece of content. So if you structure, and you can do that in less than a minute. One of the pieces of content I just put up this morning is less than a minute long, and it has all those elements in it. So that's how you can use Relatable and any other piece of content to loop, like Peter's talking about, and to get that conversation much deeper, much faster, and have those micro commitments to get that know, like, and trust, that demand awareness and curiosity and readiness to help the people that you're here to help.
Yeah.
Um,
No, that's a great point. Nina, can you just, because I don't want to get into a whole, because I'm going to be doing Q&A lives as well as other types of lives besides these digital series on LinkedIn. So you can look for those, Nina. But Nina, can you type in what it is you do? Because I have an idea I want to share with you really quickly.
or if Jim knows, he can kind of.
Well, I definitely know she does a lot with like public relations and helping people get their message out. She's really good at that, and she started to do more videos too of herself talking about challenges she's seeing.
The thing about that, Nina, with passive video is passive. There's no interaction, there's no engagement, there's no nothing. Where we can get interaction, engagement, we can do the micro commitments. But going, since we're in the content strategy, in your content strategy, you have pillar pieces of content and you have consumable pieces of content. So answering part of your question, Nina, with if you're into PR, one of your pillar pieces of content, especially to attract your tribe on LinkedIn, is your unique point of view and your change of perspective. Unique point of view, I've talked about this. Go back to our digital live. It's in a lot of detail 2 weeks ago. But basically, what that is you are explaining how are you different? How are you unique? What do you stand for? And what do you stand against? And we have done that. And that has attracted the people like you that resonate with like, you know what, this makes a lot of sense. I want to explore this further about Relatable, the relationship economy and demand generation, right? So really it's that change of perspectives are things like, how do you get people to change their way of thinking? If you want to see 2 classic change of perspectives, Nina, go to yesterday and today for my my LinkedIn posts. Those are classic change of perspectives. And so it gets people thinking like, wow, this digital live, this is a change of perspective. This whole thing, even though it's an hour, it's one continuous change of perspective, right? How do we get people to realize, you know what these guys are saying is true? I have noticed that my email open rates are down. The funnels aren't working. And I've talked to a lot of CEOs, SaaS founders, CEO founders, digital marketers, demand. It's all the same. They're all saying it. It's like, what do we do? Well, we have an answer for what we do. And that's why we created Relatable, because this is a mega trend I saw coming, and it's not going to stop. Just like the internet's never going to go away. This whole world of lead gen is crumbling. Okay. I'm not saying you can't flip the switch and go from lead gen to demand gen, because demand gen takes 6 to 12 months. So do your lead gen stuff while you're doing it, but you certainly got to move into demand gen. So other pieces of pillar content. So especially in consideration, use cases, your website, white papers, interactive digital series. So we're setting up our website. So it is a customer insight portal, and they can go through a series of relatables that are all linked and all hooked to each other with questions, with data collection, while people are going through awareness and consideration. Everything is going to be there. They can take the whole journey. But the key thing, like I said earlier, is they're taking the journey based on their priority set, not based on what I want them to see as a marketer in the attention economy with lead gen. Totally different. Okay. And this is what's going to bring people into your world, attract and help convert, because some people, when they come in, like for us, for Relatable, some people want to say, well, I want to see how do you use these short clips to create social posts to, attract an audience? Some people want to say, well, I want to do an evergreen one, a longer one, and I have this specific need, and I want to figure out how do I create this piece that's not a funnel, it's interactive, but it also reconnects and re-engages. Some people want to see, well, how do you, you say you guys are interactive video relationships. How do you develop relationships? We can show them with reconnect and re-engage. Some people want to say, what's your price? Right? So it depends on where people, if people are saying what's your price, they're down near demand gen or demand ready. But everything's different. So, having how-to guides, I think another thing like for us, we're working on, because again, this is constant. We're developing a competitor buying guide. We're going to show people exactly, here's where we sit as our own distinct category versus all the rest of these interactives and passive video, and why we're totally different and better than just the interactive softwares that are out there. Because interactive video software applications, if you go look, and I've looked at 20 or so of them that are out there that, they're not competing with us, but if you had that perception that they were, they're like funnels. They take you through a one-way experience. And that is no different than going out with your significant other on the first date. And at the end of the first date, that significant other gets down on one knee and goes, "Hey, you want to get married?" We don't do that in relationships. And if you do, you're on that Married at First Sight TV show. I wrote a post about that. And how many people have actually stayed together? Almost like zero. The reason being is because you cannot get married to somebody at first sight and expect that relationship to work out. Mary knows she's been married 40 some years. It takes time. And even in the relationship, then you got to work on it.
Oh, yeah.
Constantly building that relationship, right?
Yeah.
Which is all we're doing. We're mimicking how we act as humans with trust, respect, relationship building with the Relatable tool. That's exactly what we're doing. And that's what I wanted to create, because I knew if I could create something like that, it would have huge attraction value for people who are watching this. I could attract really good talent like Mary and Jim. And most importantly, we can create impact and a movement. And that's what I'm all about. I want to create movements where people go, you know what? This other stuff is all BS. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm going over here because this is exactly how people are interacting. And so that's why we did it. So, so I talked about pillars, consumables, interactive video clips, just short ones. Like if you go to us, you'll see them. They're little clips and they talk about different things that we're thinking about at the time. I may, Mary has suggested, hey, you should do like a fun Friday, which I may do. I have a property here in California. I'm building a catio for my son on the back of the property. He lives back there. So I'm probably going to go back there with my gimbal and just go, hey, this is kind of what I do. I work with my hands. I love, doing that kind of stuff. When I'm not, running a software company, I like to help with wood and metal and all that kind of stuff. So why would I do that? Well, because first of all, I'm being transparent. I'm a human being. I'm not just the guy that sits in front of a computer, works with my software team and Mary and Jim and codes, right? I have interests just like everybody else does, right? So, and people want to see that about you. They want to interact in a way that, okay, yeah, I'm considering your product, but who the heck are you? And are you a good person? And are you multifaceted? Do you have a balanced family life? Do you think about things like death and taxes? We all do. It just humanizes you. And that's a big part of, why we did Relatable too, is we wanted to create a platform where people could express themselves. Okay. I'm not so big on personal branding. What I'm big on is I'll give you just a quick why. I'm a business person. This is my fourth startup. I've owned other businesses that I've sold. If you're an influencer on LinkedIn and you have a personal brand, you have no valuation. The brand dies with you. You cannot resell that. It's worth nothing. So those are called lifestyle businesses. They're not businesses. So if you want to choose to do a lifestyle business, yeah, go for it. Have at it. Have a great lifestyle. But you're never going to be able to exit from that thing. So, and I've learned my lesson in some other businesses of which I would never do again. And why I'm doing software. First of all, I'm blessed that I understand tech. I know tech, but software is great because it has great multiples, good valuations, but good exit strategies. It's very competitive. SaaS is very competitive. So you have to do something, like this is why even in your world, Nina, if you're in PR, very competitive. How are you going to stand out and be different? Right. So anything to add, Mary, Jim, on on some of the.
I wanted to ask Mary to maybe add, because we've talked about this, Peter, but get Mary's perspective. So one, Mary was in the chatbot world, which was not necessarily very video centric, but now all of us are using video, and of course, right, we're all native analogs. And I don't know, Mary, maybe Mary, you were an actress previously, but I was not a video person. I don't think Peter was a video person, and maybe you weren't either. How do we get people to understand how to overcome this so that they can do these relatables?
Good question. Yes, really, the chatbot world got me ready for this interactive video world because the structure of it is similar. It's just a different medium. And my intent with chatbots and this has been the same. So how do you get comfortable? I've done lots of videos. I've done lots of trainings. I've spoken on stages, as I know Peter has, and you have, Jim. And I really have to be honest. The way you get comfortable is through, just like anything else, just do it and repetition. You just go and turn on the camera, and everyone I've worked with that is uncomfortable with it, it's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be, there's no getting around it. No one goes straight from, I don't want to be seen, to I am all over the place. That's not the way this works. You have to just turn on the camera. Even if you don't show anyone that video, turn it on, go through the motions of recording a video with a script, with a bullet points, and ramble, and oh, I didn't like that. I mean, even the video that I just posted this morning, that probably took me 3 takes because I wanted to get it under a minute, and I stumbled over my words, and I wasn't going to go edit in an editing software. I just wanted to get it done, get it right. It's going to take that. You just have to do it. There's no shortcut. There's no easy button. It's just repetition.
Yeah.
I will say this, just adding to Mary's thing. So one of the things we have in Relatable, you can do a manual script or you can do smart script and let artificial. That's, to me, is a good use of AI, where it develops an interactive script with questions. But, I come from the radio world too. I have a radio show. We do radio ads. It's about 130 words per minute, right? So if you're writing a manual script, keep it to 100 to 130 words. It's a natural flow. You can do one in a minute, and we have a built-in teleprompter. And you can just read the teleprompter so it looks like you're just talking. Now, Mary and I, because, that's the other thing, it's a little more advanced, is we have what's called bullet points. You just write bullet points and talk off the top of your head, which a lot of you guys, I know you think it's hard, but it's not. You know your stuff. Yeah. I know my stuff. I mean, the problem I have, like Mary said, I could blab for like 5 or 10 minutes. I got to get it down to a minute to 2. Yeah. But what am I going to be specific on and cut myself off so that I'm not sitting there going on and on and on, right? But you can do that inside Relatable. The last thing, because we're at 53, I want to go through distribution strategy too for the last few minutes. But the last thing I want to say, guys, is going back to Mary's point earlier in this conversation, 66 touch points. Repetition is key. In fact, here's the thing. I looked this up on LinkedIn. If you have 5 to 10,000 followers, you have an average reach of about 3.3%. 10 to 50, which is where I'm at, less than that, about 2.9%. 50 to 100,000, 1.6. So your reach is not very high. But here's the thing I will tell you. I don't know if you guys know this, but I don't know, for most of the people on LinkedIn are younger. Us baby boomers, it's 5% of the total billion people on LinkedIn. That's it. And content creators, out of 1 billion people, only 5.5 million have the content creator on. It's virtually nothing. You are in a wide open field. You think there's a lot of competition on LinkedIn. You ain't seen nothing yet. So now's the time to be doing relatables and the clips and your unique point of view and bringing them into your world off this rented land. Because if you notice, you go to my profile on LinkedIn, is what would it feel like if you could future-proof your business? It's on our website too. What that means is you have to own your audience, but don't own it with an email list. You got to own it the way we're talking about, which is create a relationship, do interactive video, and create demand. Okay. So that's the last thing. We'll talk in the future. We're going to get into like content strategies, like what are the tools we're using. StreamYard, we use Riverside, Relatable. We're going to talk about the power of video. I'm going to get specific in one of the lives about, okay, how can you use this video for all these different things? I'm going to talk about use cases. whether you're a coach, PR person. We're going to get into all this stuff in the future. So it really, really drives home the point of here's exactly how you do this. It's, just follow this. Okay, so demand.
Can I talk a little bit about distribution real quick?
Yeah, go
and I'm
ahead.
going to bring it back to the beginning, what we talked about with Perplexity. So if you look at the sources on Perplexity, here's how you can think about where your content might need to be to allow you to be one of those answers in an answer engine now, rather than in a SEO for a Google search. So if you look at that, you go ask these questions, ask some questions in your field, and look at what Perplexity uses as the source. So typically the source is I've only seen Wikipedia maybe twice, but you see blog posts, you see newsletter content. I don't really see a lot of like YouTube videos as the content. You see a lot of social media posts. So if we're looking at distribution, and you're going to want to have your message out as many places as you possibly can to drive that demand awareness that leads into the curiosity and then preparedness or readiness for buying, you need to be in all those places. Yeah. So do some of those exercises. Go and ask questions in your field and look at where the sources are, what content is being tapped for those sources, and be there and get that content noticed. If it's your blog post, how can you use SEO now, if you're going to look at SEO, to get your blog post more noticed and get more traction there? How can you use a relatable video to drive more traffic from LinkedIn or Facebook or Twitter to that blog post? Right? Again, that's the end in mind. I want to increase my blog views so that I can be seen as a thought leader in my industry, and so that these answer engines will reference my posts. So that has to do with distribution. Be ahead of the curve. Look at where these places, this Perplexity and these other tools, find their sources, and make sure your content is being sourced.
Yeah, that's a great point. I want to make sure we have time to close this out. So the only thing, in fact, I think our next digital live, we're going to get into even more detail. It'll be a part 2 on content strategy, distribution strategy. But I will say this. On distribution strategy, it's about your website. It's about your managed channels, and that includes LinkedIn, your social channels, YouTube, Instagram, interactive videos, podcasts. A lot of you guys have podcast shows, which is great. That's a managed channel. And then the third one is third-party channels. We're going to get into that, accessing other people's audiences and what we're doing, what our strategies are, where we're going with all this kind of thing. I will get into, follow me on LinkedIn. I'm going to get into a lot more posts about all this stuff, as well as like video and how to use video, examples of video, what to do there too, over the next couple of weeks before we have the next one. So Jim, why don't you bring us home here?
Yeah. So what we'd love for you folks to do is, we've got here on the screen, if you are watching on a computer, you can scan that QR code. That'll take you to our website, give you the opportunity to look at our pricing. You've got a 2-week free trial. And then we've got a YouTube channel. It's I've got it scrolling across the bottom there at Be Relatable Pro. Follow us there. Mary's got videos about how to use Relatable. We're going to be adding more of that education. Plus, you can go and watch the shows that we've had previously out there as well. And I think we're going to be back next week, because the following week is the 4th of July holiday. So we'll see you all next week, same time, same channels, and look for follow Peter on LinkedIn, because Peter's going to start doing some more video live, so you can interact with him and learn more about this.
Yeah, that's great, Jim. And just to add to what Jim said, when you scan that, I'm assuming you're on your phone, because most people are on LinkedIn. But if you're not, get your phone out, scan that code. It takes you right to our website. If you want to do the free trial, it's right up at the hamburger menu. If you scroll down, it says pricing. We have 3 tiers: $49 a month, $199, $399. So it's affordable for everybody, every stage of business, every size of business for revenue, where you can get out there. And there's a lot of benefits of Relatable, where you don't have to worry about getting burned by other interactive video apps where you have these surprise bills. Believe me, that's happened to people, because it's based on video minutes. We don't do that. We base it on views. So I think you get 1,000 views at $49 a month. For a lot of you guys on LinkedIn, that's plenty per month. And if whatever views you don't, it rolls over. So it's like a bank account, right? But anyway, guys, I really appreciate it. Next week, it'll be 9 a.m. Pacific time, 12 p.m. Eastern. We're going to continue a part 2 discussion, really dive into a lot of this stuff in more detail and give you a lot of, I'm going to talk more about use cases too. So if you are watching the replay or watching this live, think about, because we're going to ask you what type of business you are. And on Mary and Jim and I are going to give you, here's some exact use cases of how you use Relatable in your business, whether it's awareness, consideration, or readiness.
All right. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Ciao.
Bye.
Bye.